What's going on, guys? This is gonna be my final video talking about Uniballs because I've decided to just stop selling them. It's just too much work for the amount of price that I'm selling them for, and it's really just not worth it for me anymore. But I'm gonna just show you how to do them yourself. So a little DIY setup. I'll show you the entire process so that you can make them yourself. So that's what this video is gonna be all about. Kind of my final thank you and goodbye to everybody for this aspect of the welding that I do. So check this out. You got two, this is the old style that I used to build, but it's going to be the same thing applies. You're basically going to start with a jig. Simple, pretty simple. It doesn't even, you don't even need a jig necessarily, but it does help keep everything straight and drill. Just a simple drill press and a 2-inch 5/8 hole saw. So I'm going to set everything up and I'll show you how I do it. Alright, so this is kind of what it'll look like when you get set up. Got my drill press set up, my vise, and I got the hole saw. This one was already started, so you can kind of see where it dives in. You're basically aiming right where those little it's raised up. You're just getting right to the edge of both of those, so that's kind of how you can center it up. And it doesn't have to be perfectly centered, but you really want it as centered as possible because you don't have much room for the mounting bolts afterwards. So I'm going to show you how it all works. But yeah, that's how you would set it up and just run your drill press. While you're running your drill press, it's nice to have some sort of coolant or something because these are pretty thick and you're going to burn them out. But yeah, once that's drilled out, that's the bearing you're going to use. FK bearings. That'll just drop right in there once that's all drilled out. So we'll get that drilled out and then I'll show you. Alright, so this would be your finished product. Now you got two pieces, and then we'll slap this guy in between them, and then the whole rest of the process. But that's the start. All right, your next step, you got your two halves of your 555 lower ball joint. You're gonna put your bolts in. You're gonna have, this is your UNIBALL cup you're gonna weld in. I weld mine in top facing up, so that's the way the bearing goes in. And it's gonna sit flush up against the spindle, just like that. So I'll get a video of everything once it's all set in there. So this is what it would look like, all tacked up to your spindle. If it's tacked to your spindle, you know everything's gonna fit and work properly. So one less headache later. Just flush up against there. Basically flush to the Uniball. So it'll actually, it does lower your suspension about 1/4 to 1/2 inch. So just something to keep in mind. There you go. Now to the welding. All right, finishing up these uniballs. Basically just weld in those gussets. You can kind of form your own gusset, whatever works, as long as it'll fit up to the spindle, right? Press my bearings in, add a little anti-seize so that you can get them out when you need to change them out. And then the last piece to the puzzle would be the misalignments. Now this is the hardest part, I think, to these, because it's the most critical part. This bolt needs to be sitting down a little more, so you will order these from Dirt King. That's where I get them from. They come like that. You have to countersink this top misalignment so that the bolt sits in a little bit better, and that'll get your clearance for the CV axles up top. And the bottom will come with a bigger taper. So you have two options here. You can change the taper on your lower control arm, or you can bring this taper down to this size. And I will put all the dimensions and everything up in the end of this video so you guys can take it. But that's basically it, man. This is the final product. You have a 1-inch uniball bearing in the standard Tacoma 4Runner platform for the lower ball joint. This will not fix your failure issue. The whole issue with these vehicles is the suspension. You can't fix that unless you go to a solid axle or you get a crazy long travel kit. So this is a decent sized band-aid, but nothing's going to fix that issue. Basically what this will do is now your weak point is going to be these 4 bolts as opposed to it being the joint itself. That's really it. Like I said, I've been doing this for a couple years now, and I've just decided to stop doing it because it's just not worth the headache, and the amount of money I would charge is I can't compete with the people that are already making them. So basically this is my last video on this topic, and hopefully it shows people, you know, if you have the tools and the friends and the know-how, you can do this and get them put together. So that's about it. Peace.